What's up everyone, welcome back to a brand new Resident Evil video. Again, first of all, want to say, wow, the support and the comments and everything on the last two Resident Evil videos has been insane. I didn't expect that kind of response from those videos, because it's mainly just me talking about things that could happen, and leaks, and stuff like that. So it's really good to see that people were involved in that and interested in that, and again, any new subscribers, hello and welcome. Hopefully you stick around for more of the Resident Evil content that comes in the future, because I'm kind of getting back in the swing of it now. I took not a big break, but a relatively long break from playing the games and making videos for the game. For me, it's a series I love so much that I don't really want to kind of burn myself out with it, so I just kind of stepped away before I did, but now I'm kind of feeling back into it, and I'm getting back into it slowly, so I expect to see more of it over the next few days and weeks and future, so don't worry about that, there is more to come. But anyway, Tokyo Game Show is a couple weeks away now, and I think the most likely announcement you'll get from Resident Evil is the DLC for Village. I've covered basically everything you could think of in terms of DLC for any character, any kind of tone and stuff like that in past videos. You can go check those out there in a playlist with all my other Resident Evil 8 content in. I'll leave a link to that playlist in the description. You can check it out. Pick and choose what you want to watch, because there's a lot in there, but all the DLC videos are in there as well. But yeah, there is a probably more likely pick for the DLC they'll do first, mainly around audience they have and marketing they have. So not everything I've probably said will make it into DLC, because I have made a lot of DLC kind of idea videos, and there's not going to be that much DLC for the game, but there will be a good chunk. So today we're going to go over what the most likely DLC announcements will be, and what they could follow in terms of the story and the characters from the game. So without any further ado, let's get into the three main ideas I would expect from a Resident Evil Village DLC announcement. First up, let's just get it out of the way. This is the most known character from the game. Even people who haven't played the game know who she is. It's Lady D. It's obviously the big, tall vampire lady everyone simped over when the game got announced. It's very likely she'll return in the DLC. I'm pretty sure way back when I made the DLC videos initially that the mocap actor for her was currently doing something else, so it goes without saying that that is probably what she's doing more mocap for the character, and I would expect a DLC to be quite big around the character, because people love the character, and then one of the main complaints you see online about Village, which honestly isn't that often you see complaints about the game, but one of the main ones you do see is that she's not in the game enough. I personally think she was in the game perfectly the right amount. At the end of the day, she's not the main character, the main enemy of the game, I should say. And I believe, you have to kind of share the screen time with the Lords. Yes, her and Heisenberg had the longest portion, but she's not the main enemy. And how the marketing went with the trailers and stuff like that, her involvement in the game is essentially the first couple hours, and a lot of the marketing around the game was her. So that was a really good way to not show you all of the last half of the game, if that makes sense. So no massive spoilers were there. But even so, yeah, we've covered DLC videos, and one of them is her, and it's probably one of the most successful videos out of a lot of them. We've talked about, opening up different areas of the castle, maybe making a more horror-themed DLC around Dimitrescu. Look back to the Maiden demo, where you were kind of unarmed and you had to explore the castle with no weapons and stuff like that. They could do that. I think Ethan's involvement in the DLC will be very limited, especially if it's story-focused because of the events of the game. Maybe they'll do a Ethan Must Die type mode again, where you go through the castle when she's there. That would be very cool, but I would expect a story DLC based around Dimitrescu. Maybe she's just in it, maybe you play as her. People have been kind of saying maybe you'll play as her before she turns into what she is, but I don't know. But me personally, I would like a horror-themed DLC based around her and her daughters, where you play as maybe a villager or something trying to escape the castle. A bit like the Maiden demo, but a bit more involved. So, first kind of main DLC potential is Lady Dimitrescu. Next up, we have Chris Redfield and his team. If you've pre-ordered the game and you got the Tragedy of Ethan Winter's concept art, which covers a lot of concept art from 7 and 8, you'll know that Chris and his team were a bit more fleshed out than they intended, than they were in the main game. They all have personalities, and they all have full rendered models underneath their uniforms, so they're all kind of very fleshed out. But when the Chris portion of the game does arrive, you just play as him and they're talking in the background. You don't actually engage with them at all. Initially, what the concept art said was you would play as Chris throughout that kind of main Chris part of the game as you would, but throughout it you would transition between his team and do different things with his team while he's trying to get to Miranda's lab underneath the big massive mole growth in the middle of the village. That would have been pretty cool. I do think there'll be more about Chris in DLC. Like, a lot of the time you're doing all these things as Ethan, you're taking on all these lords, and you're like, where the hell is Chris during all of this? Why is he not getting involved? So maybe we'll see what's going on with him throughout the events of the game. There's a small rumour that you'll play as Chris and it will be the events taking place immediately after the game, but I think they'll save that probably for RE9. The ending of this game really does set up a big plot point for the next game, so I don't think they'll go into detail with that. But again, Chris and his team throughout the events of the game would be cool to see. It's a different kind of perspective of what's going on, and you can kind of find out what the hell he's doing while Ethan's taking on all these people alone and just getting involved completely alone without any help. So that's a very interesting one, and I do think people do want to see more of Chris and his team in the game, so you never know. Before I forget, obviously this is going to be the fourth addition to the video, but this will be my third point, and then we'll get on to the main point I wanted to bring on later on. The Ada Wong Cut DLC could be coming to the game. Again, if you pre-ordered the game and you've got the Tragedy of Ethan Winters kind of book in game, you'll know that Ada Wong was set to be in the game to help Ethan when he's captured by the Four Lords. She would help him escape, but that was cut due to conflicting storylines. I don't know what that means exactly, but maybe they took it because the character looked pretty well, like, ready to go. The art of the character was basically completely fleshed out, but she just wasn't in the game. Maybe she'll appear in DLC, because I know people are kind of asking at this point to bring back more characters than just Chris. So yeah, having Ada there would be a good addition to the game, and at the end of the day she was already planned to be in the game, so I'm sure they can figure out a way to reintroduce. And in terms of other characters that we know of, I wouldn't hold your breath for any additional characters coming to this game. But hey, with Outer Age coming and Resident Evil 9 probably on the way in a few years' time, I would imagine that more familiar faces will appear over the next few years, so all good. It's all good there. And then finally, the last kind of most likely scenario for DLC is going to be the villagers. The villagers were an interesting one when the game came out. Through trailers and early look at the game, they were kind of a bit more prominent than what they were at launch. They all kind of died in the first hour of the game. Well, the first half an hour of the game, they were all dead. But the trailers had scenes where these people were more involved, they were doing other things, there was different cutscenes of, especially Eleanor, I think her name was, and her father were in it a lot more than what they were, and people were questioning why that was the case. Personally, the best thing to do with this kind of idea for me, like I've said in the video about the villagers, is do like a banned footage type DLC for the game, where you see these villagers do what they do before the events in the game take place. Probably prequel stuff, you know, before Ethan arrives, before Chris arrives, and you kind of see the village go into shit, and how they deal with it, and how they get to Louisa's house and stuff like that. Plenty of ideas you could do there, completely fresh ground, so you can make a completely different story up for these villagers. Obviously, you know, have it be set before their demise, because you know what happens to them, but that's always an idea to kind of give those characters a bit more flesh, give them a bit more backstory, and have them not just be extra bodies so Ethan doesn't die. But yeah, that is going to do it for kind of the most likely DLC you could expect from Resident Evil Village. This could be wrong, but I just feel like in terms of popularity and story purposes, this could be the most likely in terms of a story DLC. Obviously, Resident Evil 7 had bonus mode DLCs as well. You know, Ethan must die, Jack's 55th birthday, and stuff like that. So there is potential for that kind of DLC as well. One quick little mention, we could also hear something about Reverse. Obviously that was the game that was packaged with Village at launch that got delayed until the beginning of next year, I believe. So we could hear more of that, but I would imagine they're going to talk about the DLC because it was announced at E3 and they said more details were coming later, so Tokyo Game Show could be the kind of star of a conversation about the DLC, or a trailer or something like that. So with that being in a couple of weeks, it's not too far to wait, so do leave your thoughts on what you want to see as DLC down in the comments below. Again, thank you for all the support on the videos recently. I think this is going to be the last one talking about Tokyo Game Show until it happens, because when it happens and when they've said what they've said, I'll also be able to cover things that are a bit more accurate and factual from Capcom themselves. But until then, we're just kind of discussing and making a couple ideas and just seeing, what people think about these ideas that could happen. So yeah, thank you for watching. Remember to leave a like on the video and subscribe for more Resident Evil content, and I'll see you all tomorrow.